Hello guys and welcome back to a new video. This one will be about the core necromancer damage build for World vs World. So this is the build. We run Spite, Soul Reaping and Blood Magic. I don't like curses like trait line because it has no damage modifiers, and I think the vampiric aura and the vampiric trait right here, vampiric present and vampiric, they do offer a big support on your team, and also it's a big damage dealer. If you see at the end of the fight, you will have on your arc DPS a lot of vampiric and vampiric presence damage done, and also you are tankier thanks to blood bank trait, and you have also some movement speed and some an additional blood mark when you dodge. And also here we have some support trait which we will not use, but still is still better than curses, because our objective right here is to do damage, not to corrupt. Curses trait line is to corrupt, not to do damage. So on Spite we run this Spiteful Talisman mostly for the axe cooldown reduction on the axe 3, which is the best skill on axe. Then here we run Awaken the Pain to get more power from might but less condition damage. We don't need condition damage. And here Close to Death, which makes us do 20% more damage to enemies below the health threshold, which is 50%. Very big trait against weak enemies. Then we run Soul Reaping for soul marks. We run the stuff. We need the unblockable marks, meaning that our marks will not be blocked by the annoying Aegis that is spammed by firebrands and so on. Soul Barbs, this is a big trait. When we enter or exit Shroud, we gain 10% more damage. It doesn't stack, it just stacks the duration, it refreshes the duration. You will not get 20% damage if you enter Shroud and immediately leave it. And now we run also Death Perception, which gives us increased critical strike chance, 15%, huge, and also gain increased critical strike damage while in Shroud. And this is why we enter the Shroud after we drop our wells. So you drop your wells and you enter Shroud for the 10% more damage right here. And right here we get 15% more damage on our criticals, and we always do criticals except when we are weak and we have weakness condition. So the goal of the gears is to reach 80% critical chance, and we reach it thanks to the Death Perception, which it gives us 15%. And then we enter Shroud, and if we have Fury we will have 100%, so hopefully our party will give us Fury. Okay, we run Superior Rune of the Thief, and the gear you can min-max it as you want it. I run Berserker, Marauder, Dragon, Berserker, Berserker, Valkyrie. Then here we have Marauder, Marauder, Marauder again, Berserker, 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 Dragons and Marauder. But you can run it how you want, just aim to reach 80% critical chance. So the skill, we run Consume Condition, the best healing skill of the necromancer, of the core necromancer of course. It will consume all of your conditions, so it's a big tool to remove immobilize, cripple, chill and so on. Well of Suffering, it's almost all the time the best skill in arc DPS, the top damage skill on our set. We run Well of Darkness, which is another big damage dealer, but it is blockable differently to the other wells. It is blockable, so keep in mind that some attacks from it will be blocked. If you don't want to run a triple well, you can also go for the Signet of Spite, which gives us additional power. It's your choice. I would recommend going for the wells, because this one also applies blindness and shield, which are very annoying against the enemies. Well of Corruption is blockable, deals dice damage, gives us some life force, and also will corrupt 5 boons per pulse from enemies inside it. Okay, the elite skill is a pain. I don't like Plague Lance, but the others are just too bad. We have Summon Flesh Golem, which is useless, and we could also go Leech Form, which is nice, but the auto attack, which is the damage dealer, is just a projectile, which will be mitigated by any projectile mitigation skill in World vs. World, of course. By Wall of Reflection, you have 50 enemies maybe. They run warriors with the bubbles, Wall of Reflections, revenants with the bubbles, and so on. So I wouldn't recommend going Leech Form, but still it is very good to clear the downed enemies. And you can also go skill 5 and skill 4 for the Summon Madness. Right here you will summon some minions which will explode when they die. The auto attack is very strong. The skill 3 is an unblockable fear. You could run it. I wouldn't suggest it a lot. Also, if you run it, you will maybe run it when use it when the fight is over most of the time. So this is it. On the weapons we run Frenzy and Force, and on the staff we run Cruelty and Force. I once did the math which told me Cruelty was better than Bloodlust. I'm not sure of this, but I think it is true. So if you are good at math, you could try to do it. We run the axe and the staff. I would recommend using your marks from range when you are fighting. Then you are approaching the enemies, you use all your wells, you enter Shroud. The first skill you do is skill 4, which is a big pulsing AoE around you. It is channeled, so be careful to not get interrupted, and it also gives you life force. Then you exit the Shroud, you immediately swap to Axe and press the skill 3, which is an AoE around you, big damage, and also if it hits enemies are below 50% HP, it will trigger another mini explosion of 3 targets. So very big skill. The skill 2 is a single target damage, huge damage on a single target though. Skill 4 is a single target, but it will give us some life force, but it is blockable, so it is a projectile, I mean, so be careful. And the skill 5, Spinal Shivers, huge single damage dealer, and it will remove up to 3 boons on the enemies. The more boons you remove, the more damage you do. Huge single target nuke. It's oftentimes you will see 10k on squishy builds with 3 boons. It's a bit slow, but it has a big range. It is not a projectile, so keep in mind, use it. Use these Spinal Shivers with the Ghastly Claws, because you will almost down an enemy with both together. Even the supports will be forced to be healed. On the staff, the skill 2 is a low cooldown damage dealer. Skill 3 is a bigger cooldown, little bigger damage. Putrid Mark is oftentimes one of the best skill on arc DPS. You will see mostly on the top 3 the Putrid Mark. It's unblockable, of course, with the trait, and it also conditions removed 3, and you see the damage, like this one is 3k, this one is 13k. Big damage, 20 seconds cooldown, big. And this one is a fear, almost 0 damage, but it's still a CC, big CC. You should keep it for your immobilize on your party, or for the entangles, for the winds of disenchantment by spellbreakers, or after the well bombs. Like you well bombs, the enemy is right here, you CC him on here, and he will be feared back, and he will tank all the wells. So now let's go on to the gameplay of my previous video. This is it. So this is an SM fight. As you see, I already used my staff skills. You run inside. You see I drop the wells, 1, 2 and 3, and immediately enter the Shroud, skill 4, which hits everyone around me. It's very good to clear the clouds. Then after the skill 4, if you don't leave the Shroud, I recommend using the skill 5, which is an AoE immobilize around you. I don't have enemies around me now, but still it will trigger some chains around you, and at the end of these chains you will trigger a powerful damage and immobilize. It's not the best if the enemies move, so it's not the best skill. but still it is not channeled, so you can use it and just leave Shroud and do whatever you want to do. You could enter Shroud, do skill 4, skill 5 and then exit Shroud and immediately swap back to Axe and go skill 3. So let's get into the gameplay again. Skill 5, as you saw. I also used the skill 2, which is an unblockable, but it is almost 0 damage. Now I have stuff right here. I have the skill 3 and skill 4 ready. I use them. Immediately swap to Axe. Skill 3 around me, big damage. Skill 5, some auto attacks. Then here I have nothing left mostly. I go back to stuff. Okay, the fight is over. Here is another one. Okay, this is from the start. You see skill 3 from the staff, skill 2 and skill 4. You can kinda spam it. Try to keep your skill 4 and skill 5 mostly for big bombs when you need CCs or big damage. The skill 2 and skill 3 are just to tag the enemies most of the time. Then I drop the wells. The enemy is very scattered, so the wells are not optimally placed, so please forgive me. I immediately enter the Shroud because I will say it again. When you enter Shroud, you get 10% more damage, and also when you exit. And also when you are in Shroud, you get 15% critical damage increase. So it's a flat 25% more damage just by pressing F1. Remember, always drop your wells if your Shroud is ready. So you drop your wells and you immediately enter Shroud. I don't have the life force, but always remember this. So again, I enter Shroud, skill 4, you see all the cloud running up around me, but my skill 4 will hit them. Skill 5 for additional damage and immobilize if it hits. Okay, that fight is over. So this is the last fight I will cover, because the gameplay is always the same basically. You almost use every skill, all of your wells. You enter the Shroud, skill 4. Remember also that skill 4 is very nice to clear out the arrow cards on the or any siege on the walls, because it will hit it. It's like a big AoE around you, also on above and also below you. So keep in mind that it's very nice to clear the sieges from behind, like you are attacking a tower, you are below the gate and you have an arrow card on the walls. You press your skill 4 and it will hit 100%. So Axe 3 again. This is another fight. Skill 2, skill 5. I cast the wells. I recommend using the well of suffering last, because it is the highest damage dealer of the 3 wells, and so you will not lose a single pulse when entering Shroud. You use the well, you see, every well is on cooldown, and now I enter Shroud. Skill 4, clearing also people behind the gate. Very big. Very nice build, in my opinion. Easy to use, kinda tanky. You can almost press all the skills almost randomly and still do damage. It's not optimal, it's not the best DPS class, of course, but it doesn't even require the expansion, except for some gears, but you can also run this full berserker, I think, or maybe some assassins. And it's a very low effort and always works, especially if the enemy is not organized. Thank you for watching, and see you on to the next video. Bye!